All right, good morning, everybody. All right, we're starting a new week, so we're going to kind of change gears a little bit, and we are going to start talking about rational numbers, okay? So, and of course, first thing we're going to do is start with our math journal, all right? So, as you can see, of course, we went through all of these. Now we're on page 11, working with rational numbers, okay? So we're working on rational numbers. Let me flip this on open. That was page 9. So this will be page 11. Okay. All right. So you're going to have this handout. You're actually going to have it whether you can print it or we're basically just going to copy it like we have been. If you can't print it out, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so let's start at the header. All right, so working with rational numbers. Okay, a rational number is a number that can be written as a fraction. Okay, so that's any number that can be written as a fraction. All right, fractions, integers, and decimals are all rational numbers. Okay, so we've already talked about integers, and we know from integers they're positive and negative whole numbers. Okay, and then a fraction is, we'll see what a fraction is, and we know what decimals are as well. Okay, so I went ahead and colored just a little bit of this. Okay, so when we're talking about rational numbers, we're basically going to be talking about decimals. Okay, decimals, and we're going to be talking about fractions. All right, and today we're going to be converting our decimals to fractions and our fractions to decimals. Okay, so I just want to let y'all see that, see what it looks like. Okay, and we have some special cases down here, kind of be like our little hint folder. All right, so the special cases. Some fractions result in a decimal that repeats. Okay, so 1/3 is equal to 0.333 and it repeats. Okay, so that's going to be a repeating decimal. Okay, it just keeps going. All right, now some fractions result in a decimal that ends. So 1/2 is equal to 0.5, 0.5. All right, that is called a terminating decimal. If it stops, and it doesn't matter if it stops after the first one, if it goes 5 here and then stops later on when we're doing our with a calculator, okay, if it stops, it will be a terminating decimal. Okay, so we have some fractions over here, and we're going to determine later where they go right here. Okay, so I'm going to cut this out. Okay, and I'm going to show you how this is going to go into your math journal. So hang on just a second. Okay, so I have everything cut out here. All right, so here's like the main part, and I've cut out all the dark lines like we're supposed to. Okay, so the first thing we do is do what? Got to place our header at the top. Okay, let me get this header glued at the top. I put a lot of glue on it there. Alright. So we're just going to place it right here at the very top of our page. Okay. Oh, I about knocked the camera over. Okay. So, there's at the top. Now, if we can cut it out, that's great. Okay, if not, just write this in. So, there it is. Pause the video. Write that at the top. All right, now look, this tells you where to put the glue. All right, we notice our dotted lines. What do we do with the dotted lines? That's where we fold. Okay, maybe should have waited after I folded this to cut these, but okay, we're going to fold all those little tabs. Fold all these little tabs back on the inside. Okay, so let's fold this other side same way. Okay, now that's what it's going to look like. So we're going to put the glue where it says to put the glue. Okay, make sure you get quite a bit on there. I mean, you might be opening this up quite a bit to look. Alright, so this is what it's going to look like now. Alright, so I'm going to put it just to this side. Okay, and that's just going to be for me. Now, alright, now we'll go to the other side and do a couple examples on how to convert fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. Okay, so next, my special cases. We're going to put that in there. I'm going to put this right up here at the top. Okay, right up there at the top. Now, those little fractions that we had, we're going to glue those under whether it is a repeating decimal or a decimal that ends. Okay, remember, if you can cut this out, you're only going to put glue from the dotted line to this side. Okay. And I'm going to put that down here at the bottom of my page. Okay. So there we go. That's kind of what it's going to look like. All right. Now, so we're going to take, let me see if I can get these in my hand. All right. All these little fractions. I'm going to turn them upright. And I'm going to convert these all to decimals. Okay? I'm going to show you how to do it. So, let's start with 1/4. Alright? Now, some of these, we should know some of these by heart. Okay? We should know some of these by heart. Like 1/2. I had to do a little bit more glue in here. 1/2. Alright. So let's just talk about this one over here real quick. So 1/2, that in a decimal should give us what? Well, 0.5 is a half. Okay, so 0.5 is a half. 1/2. Okay? Alright, now let's go over here and figure out how we got there. Okay, so if I want to take 1/4 and convert it to a decimal, okay, a fraction is a division problem. Okay, and you have your numerator and your denominator. Okay, so 1/4 is the same thing as saying 1 divided by 4. Okay, it's the same thing. 1 divided by 4. So to convert it, we're just going to divide the numerator by the denominator. Numerator by denominator. So will 4 go into 1? Nope. Well, that's where my 0 comes in. And that's where I'm going to place my decimal. Okay? Now, I can add as many zeros inside my little house as I want to. Okay? Now, will 4 go into 10? Yeah, sure will. How many times? Well, it goes into it twice. Okay? So then we go 2 times 4, that's 8. Alright? And then when we get here, we're going to subtract. 10 minus 8 is 2. Alright? Now, what do we need to do? Let's just add another 0, because 4 won't go into 2. Alright? Evenly. So we add another 0. So we just drop the 0 down. Okay? Now, does 4 go into 20? It goes into it 5 times. So 5 times 4 is 20, and that's where we get to stop. Alright? So if it stops, that tells us that has a terminating decimal. So 1/4, okay, and I think I'm just going to write them in. So 1/4, is it repeating or a decimal that ends? Well, it's a terminating decimal, so that means it's a decimal that ends. So I'm going to place 1/4 under the decimal that ends. Okay? All right, so that takes care of that one. Okay, let's see here. Let's try 1/6. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. 1/6, okay, is equal to what? Well, it's equal to 1 divided by 6. All right, now let's just go ahead and go through this. Will 6 go into 1? Nope. So that's where my 0 comes in and my decimal. All right, I'm just going to add a 0. Will 6 go into 10? Yep, one time. All right. Okay. So 10 minus 6 is 4. Okay. Now will 6 go into 4? No. So we got to add another 0. 6 go into 40? Yep. How many times? I'm going to say 5 times, right? No, sorry, 6. See, I got ahead of myself. 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. Okay. Now, we get right here. We're going to subtract. I'm going to scoot this down. We're going to subtract again. So 40 minus 36 is what? 4. All right. Will 6 go into 4? Nope. I got to add another one. All right. Now, let's stop and think about this. I have a 40 right here. I have a 40 right here. Okay? If I have a 40 or a number that repeats itself here and here, what's going to happen? I'm never going to be able to get that decimal to end. Okay? So 6 goes into 40 6 times. Okay? So that gives me another 36. I'm just going to keep repeating this step right here. Okay, and it's going to go on and on and on. Now, when it does that, that 6 is going to keep repeating. Okay, so I'm going to write 1/6 up here. Okay, now that's 0.16, and the 6 keeps going. So I'm going to do is add a little line right at the top of the 6, because the 6 is the one that keeps repeating. Now that little line right here, all right, that little line is called a bar notation. And what that little bar tells us is this number, well, it just keeps repeating itself. Okay, so that number, that 6, just keeps going and going and going. So we don't have to write all that. All we have to do is put that little bar above the 6, and we are good. So I'm going to come back down here. Okay. And 1/6, well, we know from up here that it does what? Well, it just keeps repeating. Okay. So 1/6 can go right here. All right. Okay. Now, I'm going to put these other 2 up, or other 4 up here. And I want you to figure out whether the rest of them are repeating or decimals that end. So you have 7/8, 3/5, 1/12, and 2/3. Okay? So I'll just let you take a second there and maybe write those down, because I'm going to push them right off. All right. Now, so we've talked about going from fraction to decimal. You just take your numerator divided by the denominator. All right. So I'm going to come over here and write that one more time. So 1/4. All right. So my top number, my numerator. Okay. My bottom number, my denominator. Okay? And my denominator on the outside of my house, numerator on the inside. Okay? So you can put all this stuff on your right-hand side of your math journal, okay? So, I want you to convert the rest of those fractions to decimals. All right, let's talk about decimals to fractions. Now, when we're talking about decimal to fractions, okay, one thing we have to remember are our place holders on the right side of the decimal point. And what I'm talking about is, all right, so if I have a decimal, okay, and I got 0.758, okay? Now, this first digit is where? Well, that's in the tenths place, okay? The second one in the hundredths, all right? And the third in the thousandths. Okay? Now, this is very important when we go back and do our decimals. All right? So, just by this one alone, if I'm going to convert it to a fraction, I'm going to take whatever number or numbers are to the right of my decimal, and I'm going to put it over whichever number. All right, so I'm all the way to the eighths, so that's my thousandths place. Okay, so I'm going to put 758 over 1,000, because why? My 8 is in my thousandths place, so that's in the thousandths. Okay, make sure I don't write one over here that's over there. All right, so we can use, let's do 0.45. Okay, so there's my tenths. This is my hundredths. I know I'm writing small, guys, but you can always go back and stop the video, okay, and just write it as we go. So if I write this one as a fraction, I'm going to put 45 over, well, where's my last digit? It's in the hundredths place, so I'm going to put it over 100. Okay? Let's do one more. Well, I have 0.1, and that's in what place? The tenths. It's funny because what do we say? We can call this what? 1/10. Okay? We can call it 1/10. So if we call it 1/10, well, guess what? 1 over 10. 1/10. Okay? So that's how you're going to convert your decimal to fraction. Now, if we go back and look, this one and this one, what do we notice? There's an 8, there's a 0. Those are two even numbers. That can be simplified. All right? As with this one, 5 and a 0. A 5 and 0 can be simplified. Okay? I'm probably not the best speller. That might be how you spell simplified. Okay? All right, they can be simplified. So to simplify them, we're going to see if one will go into the other right off the top, but in this case, these two won't. Okay? So let's simplify. (45 over 100). All right. So what number will go into a 45 and 100? Well, they got a 5 and a 0, so 5 will go into both. So 5 goes into 45 how many times? Well, 45 divided by 5 is 9. Okay. And 100 divided by 5, well, that'd be 20. Okay. So, can 9 and 20, can you simplify that any further? I would say no. Okay. So 9/20 is equal to 45 over 100. All right. Now, you might have some questions on your assignment this week that ask you to put or check all possible answers. So just make sure see if it can simplify or not. Okay, if it can't, then you're okay. All right. So again, I know this is a long video. We're at 21 minutes. All right. But I just wanted to give you some examples. Okay. If you can't print it out, that's fine. Okay. Just try to draw it in the best you can. Now under those tabs, what did we do with the 1/2? Well, I converted my fraction to a decimal. Okay. Same way with here. Look, let's do this one. 0.7. What did I tell you? 7 over, what place is that in? The tenths. 7/10. All right. All right. So Google Classroom, there's a short little assignment. Okay. Make sure you upload a picture of your math journal. Okay. It'll tell you where. And do the assignment. There's 5 questions. Okay. If you need any help, email me. Send me a comment on Google Classroom and I'll get back with you. Okay? So again,